Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today we're talking about the music of Joaquin Turina. Boy, is this guy good. And really surprisingly unknown, except for one piece, the last movement of his Danzas fantásticas. He did not write a lot of orchestral music, but there's more than you think because he wrote tons of piano music, mostly miniatures grouped in suites, and he orchestrated a lot of them. But the best all-around Turina disc that I've ever heard was this one, which was done by a friend of mine, the conductor Antonio de Almeida, who was really a fun guy. And he knew Turina, and he told me about it while he was preparing this disc. We talked about it because he was re-editing the score of Danzas Fantásticas for this performance, because there are some goofy things happening in the percussion section, which he corrected, and we were discussing it and looking at it together. And he told me this marvelous story about the Danzas Fantásticas. Now, as you know, the Danzas Fantásticas ends with an orgia, the orgia. And you know, it's bum ba dum ba da 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 dum ba da 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 dum ba da 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 dum ba da 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 dum ba dum bum ba da. Oh, it's great, right? Well, apparently Turina was a very gentle soul, a very courtly and gentlemanly old Spanish dude. And he got, my buddy Antonio de Almeida got to conduct the work for Turina while he was still around, because he lasted, he lived to be till 1949. And Almeida was sort of getting his start as a conductor in the 40s, in that period. And so he had the opportunity to conduct for Turina, who was in the, listening to the rehearsals. And Turina kept telling him to slow down in the final orgia, to the point where the orgia was not orgying or orgying. It wasn't very orgiendo or orgiante or whatever it was supposed to be. It wasn't. So he slowed it down and slowed it down and slowed it down until Turina was completely satisfied. Then in the concert, he just let it rip and went completely crazy with it, which is really what good musicians are supposed to do when faced with recalcitrant composers. So this is one hell of an exciting performance of the Danzas Fantásticas, and you also get a lot of the sort of basic Turina orchestral music. You get the La procesión del Rocío, or La procesión del Rocío, depending on your Spanish dialect, which is a beautiful diptych symphonic poem, Triana and Festas, and La procesión. And then you get the Sinfonía sevillana, which is just the most beautiful thing. There aren't that many Spanish symphonies. And this, too, is more like La Mer. It's really sort of a tone poem-y thing, because it has a panorama, and Por el Río Guadalquivir, and the Fiesta de San Juan de Aznalfarache. Yeah, that's a good one, but boy, is it beautiful. It is absolutely one of the most beautiful pieces of music you have ever heard in your life. Turina had no truck with modernism. He was a straight-out romantic nationalist. And all of his music is as sunny and Spanish and glorious as anything you can imagine. And that's such a beautiful piece. And then finally, there's the Ritmos, which is a fantasía coreográfica, a short little ballet, 15 minutes long, in 6 movements, very short movements, and it's delightful, and nobody knows it. So this is just an absolutely amazing disc. Now, it's on RCA, or it was. I'm sure it's been out of print for like centuries, but I've seen it sort of available or popping up and around. So it's Turina orchestral works, especially the Danzas Fantásticas, with the Bamburg Symphony under Antonio de Almeida. And it was a co-production of BMG Classics and Bavarian Radio. So somebody's got it. And it's just absolutely marvelous. And if you don't know this music, you really, really owe it to yourself to investigate Turina. His piano works, too, because they're extraordinarily beautiful. And like I said, a lot of them were orchestrated. There was a 4-disc series on the Faves label. Remember that? That was Turina's orchestral works. All of these piano things that got orchestrated. There's stuff to discover there still. There really is. Like so many Spanish composers, he hasn't been investigated with the seriousness and dedication that he really deserves. Not even in Spain. So keep on listening, friends. Go for some Turina. You won't be sorry. Take care.